Hi, this is Shauna, and I want to welcome you to Living in This Space. Real talk, because hey, we're all just living in this space we call life, right? It's messy, it's hard, and sometimes it's the most joyous thing we can experience. I want you, my listener, to have a place where the conversation is real and honest. I hope we can spend this time together, validating, sharing, and experiencing all the feels together with whatever topic is on the agenda for the day. Let's dive in. Hi, and welcome back. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that I think is super interesting, and that's about being a dreamer. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of dreamer in the sense of dreaming in your sleep. I'm talking about those who have a deep desire for more in their lives, for having goals and things that you want to accomplish, even if they're scary big. And then some of us take dreaming just a little bit farther and live in a state of perpetual fantasy or dreaming, creating, having ideas that some people say are just too far-fetched or unattainable. These are usually the people being referenced when somebody says, "Oh my gosh, he is such a dreamer, isn't he?" Do you know where you sit on that dreaming scale? I was thinking about this the other day, and I think I sit somewhere slightly over the edge of, "Oh, she's such a dreamer." My kids are the same way, and my daddy and his daddy were as well. I mean, I think we come from a long line of dreamers. And I think that each of us have always had something in the works that we wanted to do or experience, or we were always dreaming of some idea, something that we could do, or maybe it was make, or maybe something we could experience or go see. So today, I want to be an encourager for you. If you are one of those people that sit in a perpetual state of dreaming, of wanting more, of having those big, audacious goals for your life, don't quit. That's the best encouragement I can give you. If it's on your heart and you feel led to attain it, don't stinking quit. Keep dreaming about it. Keep reaching for it. Winston Churchill is quoted as saying, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." That's pretty powerful, isn't it? So plan, research, look for others who've done what you want to do. Write it out step by step, but never ever quit on your dreams. I have a few friends who have, they have reached for their dreams here lately. And one of them, I just love her precious journey. And I'm going to have her on my podcast soon. And we're going to talk about her reaching for something that she has loved doing her entire life. So stay tuned for that. But, I think that we can often arrive at a place of discouragement or even complacency and give up on these dreams. And why do we do that? Well, I have some thoughts, and I'm going to share them with you. I think sometimes that little voice inside your head tells you a number of things. And I'm going to read off 3 or 4 of them right now. This is what sometimes I hear in my head. "Oh, come on. You've been dreaming of this forever and you haven't accomplished it yet. You might as well move on to something else." Or, "You don't really have what it takes to follow through with that, right?" Oh, that's a terrible seed planted, isn't it? Or, "You don't have the time needed to reach that goal." I mean, a lot of us are busy, so let's really take that one for just a hot minute and look at it. A lot of us are busy. Of course, we have families or jobs or careers or, we've got these busy, busy lives. But you know what? That's okay. You can always squeeze something in the nooks and crannies of your day. How about you never follow through with something, so why do you think you could follow through this time? That was me. I would start a project and I wouldn't finish it. It would get too hard, or there'd be too many steps to it, or I would start telling myself, nobody's going to want this. Nobody's interested. You're the only one that thinks this is great. And then I would just quit and move on to something else. And I've talked about that on previous podcasts. But this list of that voice inside your head is endless. And if you fall prey to that negative voice inside your head, then I think, yes, you may struggle to follow through. And you may even hop from dream to dream, like I've done. So what is on your heart today as you're listening to this? Do you have something that you've tucked away and, kept telling yourself, not now, or maybe you can't do it? Have you always wanted to do that one thing that you've just kind of set on the back burner? This is a story I used to tell myself. If I ever hit the lottery, ... fill in the blank. I mean, come on, really? Hit the lottery? I mean, it's almost comical, isn't it, that my thoughts would run there? As if I couldn't reach for a dream on my own, right? What does every dreamer, innovator, and creator have in common? Have you thought about that? What do they do that keeps them motivated? I personally think they have a vision. Without a vision, it's hard to move forward in the direction you need to go. And without a vision, we tend to flounder and we don't really get anywhere. Almost every genius in history was considered crazy. And every successful product and company seemed almost impossible to be built in the beginning. Without a vision, these people and these companies would have never been successful. I think they push themselves outside their comfort zone. It isn't easy going against the grain, y'all. Going against popular thought. But pushing past what's comfortable and safe into what for a time may be very uncomfortable is the path to success. Have you ever heard push through to get to the other side? I mean, that's kind of pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. I also think they trust their instincts. I mean, these people that were considered crazy, these big, audacious dreamers, they trusted themselves. They trusted their idea. And instead of listening to the naysayers or the negative, they focused on their vision. Our world is full of dreamers who were criticized, scoffed at, and discouraged. There are hundreds of thousands of innovators, creators, and idealists who never gave up, or they're out there still chasing their dream or their idea. So trust your instincts. And I think they're determined. I mean, they've got to be, right? Consistency brings results. Sometimes the results are failures, and sometimes they're wins. But when you put in the effort and the time, you're always going to have some kind of result, right? A failure often leads to a better way of doing something, or a tweak in an idea. A failure is part of the success formula. So don't be afraid of failing. Look at it as just one more step toward what you want. I want to look at a few dreamers and what getting to their dreams and goals looked like. I almost left this out today, but then I thought, no, it's kind of cool to hear about a few of these stories. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the Wright brothers. And you know why? I'm actually related to the Wright brothers. I'm related to that family. I think that's kind of cool, don't you? So Wilbur and Orville's interest in flight, from what I've read, most likely started with a toy paper helicopter that their father brought home to them. And they played and played with this toy helicopter until they tore it up. And then they thought, we can build our own. I mean, they were just little guys. And they built their own toy helicopter. So I'm kind of thinking from what I've read about them that, I can assume that that's probably what started their dream of flying objects. So they were very driven in their pursuit of interest of flight. So they had to endure criticism and skepticism along the way. They were accused of bluffing the world with their claims at one time. Can you imagine? They made hundreds and hundreds of mistakes, and they made over 1,000 flights and years of work. They were dreamers who had a vision that changed the way we would travel. And aren't you glad they did? I love this next failure to success story. J.K. Rowling. She went from a struggling single mom to one of the world's most successful authors. Rowling had a love of stories and writing from childhood, and she was writing little stories when she was 6 and 7 years old. But her parents thought that she had an overactive imagination, and they viewed her dreams of being a writer as a personal quirk that would never pay bills or secure her future. So I would imagine they were very discouraging of her. I mean, she had a host of excuses she could have used to squash her own dreams, right? She was a self-described, very disorganized person. She had a lot of personal tragedy in her life. She literally lived hand to mouth and suffered from depression so deep that for a period of time led her to contemplating suicide. Y'all, she literally came from nothing, was rejected a dozen times from publishers. Can you imagine if she'd stopped at the 10th or 11th of rejection? How many times have any of us been on the cusp of some kind of breakthrough, either with an idea or a goal, and then decided that we'd had enough? How many times has that insidious voice creeped in and planted a seed of discouragement? Does that sound familiar? Can you think back on something that you may have given up on that still tugs at your heart? Lastly, let's look at Vera Wang. I love her. She didn't realize her dreams of designing her own line of bridal wear until she was 40, y'all. She's quoted as saying in an interview with Harvard Business Review, "I wasn't entirely sure I should be doing it. I didn't feel very qualified or secure, and I never thought I deserved to found a company. To think I could start and run and sustain a business? I knew how hard it was. My father was the reason I did it." Did y'all hear that? While she didn't have faith in herself, she pulled on her father's belief from her. I think that's amazing. 3 decades after she stepped out on faith, her brand is now a global business spanning fashion, beauty, jewelry, and homewares. What a shame it would have been for her to continue to work for other designers only to have someone else's name on her creations. We could talk about hundreds and hundreds of people who rose from seemingly impossible odds to realize their dreams, but sadly were limited by time. You know, stepping out on faith and pushing past my fear is what took me down this road of starting this podcast. I had to push that publish button on that very first episode that I uploaded, and I was scared to death to do that. Is doing this podcast one of my lifelong dreams? No, I have to admit it's really not. I had a different path I wanted to go down when I was younger. But what it does do is it helps me to facilitate a dream that I had for most of my adult life to share with people my journey. I had a vision since my early 20s of taking my life, my experiences, my lessons learned, my pain and joy, and doing something positive with it. In my early 20s, I wanted to work in the criminal justice system with teenagers, and I didn't realize that dream. And then later in life, I thought, well, maybe I could get into women's ministry and do something like that. Well, I never did that either. And so this is my avenue. It isn't what I thought it would look like all those years ago. But you know what? I adapted. I found another way to get my journey, my stories, and those of others who are going to be guests on my podcast out there to you. So I want to encourage you. If you're a dreamer, don't stop dreaming. If you're one of those crazy over-the-edge dreamers who fantasize and plan all these extravagant things, don't quit. You guys are what makes this world so amazing. There are so many ingenious things out there that everybody thought was crazy when the person that came up with them thought them up. So don't quit. I want to encourage you. Don't stop dreaming. And keep coming back, because I have some great episodes planned for you. So until the next time, my sweet listeners, keep dreaming. Hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to hit follow wherever you get your podcast. And until next time, I hope you live in your space well, my friends.